Welcome to ACT Fitness Radio, the podcast teaching you to aspire, conquer, and transform your body and mind. Here's your host, Adam Castro.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Adam Castro, and you are listening to ACT Fitness Radio, Whittier's #1 fitness podcast. And I got to tell you guys, I'm in a little bit of pain right now. I just hit my shin on a chair, and I've got a fun little fact for you. I do not have a lot of meat between the bone of my shin and the skin on my shin. It's actually quite sad how sensitive my shins are, especially because I run a lot. And this was actually a problem that I dealt with doing cross country in high school, because our coach, and I won't name any names, but you can figure it out, I guess. But our coach, I really don't agree with the way that my coach was training us. Now, kind of being on the other side of fitness, he would have us run like 9 miles on Monday, and then 7 miles on Tuesday, and 5 miles on Wednesday, and then 3 miles on Thursday, and another 3 miles on Friday. And then on the weekend, we would have to rest, and then we'd do it all over again. We'd do a long run on Monday, and then we'd just kind of bring it down. That's really not a smart way to get someone used to running long miles. You don't just throw them into high volume mile running and stuff like that, and then expect them to just, be able to do it. You should work your way up. You should allow some recovery. You don't just kind of waste away at your runners, expecting them to be able to perform better in the next week. You gotta work your way up. So anyways, you can tell this has made me a little bitter over the years. But anyways, I was running one morning after one of those weeks of long running, and I ended up getting shin splints. We were running in the morning. It was at my high school, so we ran from the high school up this street that was near the school. And I didn't live very far away from the school, so it was all very close. Wherever we ran was very close to home for me. And so we ran up this street, and as we're running up, I start to realize I'm not moving. Like, I'm not really going anywhere. I'm moving up and down more than I'm moving forward. And I was experiencing intense pain in my shins. And so we were going up this street, and I could either turn left, which led us further uphill, and I could try to muscle through it and just end up being at the end of the pack, or I could turn right and go home, basically, and basically just run home and ditch the practice. And you know what? I ran home. I turned right, and I was like, I am not gonna put myself through all this pain. I don't even think I told the coach. I don't think I said anything. I just ran home. I don't think we actually had a system for making sure that everyone was accounted for running and then running back. I think they just assumed you run, and then once you're done, it was in the morning, so school was right after. So I don't know if they just assumed, okay, you get ready for school. But I didn't get a call from my coach. I didn't call my coach. I didn't let anybody know. I just turned right and went home. Kind of sketch if you think about it. But anyways, I was experiencing shin splints. I had to sit out for the next race or two that we had for cross country, and yeah, it was just really bad. And shin splints were just something that I thought I just would have to deal with for the rest of my life, because after that, I found that continuing to train the same way, because I didn't know any better, I would just kind of get shin splints every once in a while, and I'd have to back off. And I had really sensitive shins, and so when I had these shin splints, just a touch on them would, just a touch on my shins would just cause excruciating pain. So I don't feel that anymore, but my shins are indeed still very sensitive. So I knocked my shins on a chair. So I am in a little bit of pain, but nevertheless, I've got an exciting episode for you guys today, and I hope you enjoy it. We're going to be talking about when to incorporate cardio. When do we incorporate cardio into our training? Running or rowing machine or high intensity interval training or Stairmaster or whatever, your spin class or whatever. When do we incorporate cardio? Why should we be incorporating cardio? And what are the reasons why we might be doing that? I really do feel like most people gravitate towards cardio when they're trying to lose weight. And you know what? I totally understand. When you're involved in cardio, your heart rate gets up, you start to sweat. Like, there's so many physical things that happen to you in that moment of cardio that make it an experience. And so, very often when you're trying to get yourself out of the habits that you've been in, you go to an experience that makes you feel completely different, whether you like it or not. And so people will gravitate towards cardio, and they'll experience the burn, they'll experience the pain, they'll experience the tight and sore muscles the next day, and think that they're doing something right because it's gotten them out of what they were doing before. And a lot of people will, go to Insanity and P90X or Biggest Loser DVDs, and I'm raising my hand right now because that was me too. Like, in high school, those were pretty much the first kind of programs that I did. We had a Biggest Loser DVD, boot camp DVD, and I did a lot of the workouts there from that. And then that birthed into doing P90X, and that's where I kind of learned a couple of weightlifting techniques and resistance band techniques, but most of it was kind of high intensity stuff. So I feel like people just naturally gravitate towards that because it does bring an experience that's a little bit different from lifting weights. It's a different kind of experience. It's one that exhausts the body in a more, in a more physical way. You're sweating, you're exhausted, you're needing water, you're out of breath, your heart rate is high. Like, all these things are happening to you, and it makes it its own little experience. But to be completely honest, if we are talking about what is going to raise your metabolism, help you to maintain that metabolism even outside of activity, not doing those workouts, helping you to have a good relationship with your muscles, helping you to have a good relationship with mobility, resistance training, honestly, is a better option for your choice of workouts. In resistance training, you're training the body to go through these ranges of motions, and you're building strength in those ranges of motion. And you can do this fast, you can do this slow, you can do this with lightweight, you can do this with heavyweight. But it's all centered around you putting your body against a certain amount of resistance and making sure that you can perform well in this range of motion, which can promote flexibility, which can promote mobility, promotes strength, promotes hypertrophy, can help you to shape your body. You produce more muscle mass, and so therefore you're going to start burning more calories at rest. You're going to feel you're going to feel hungry. Your metabolism is actually going to start working for you. Your body's going to start burning more calories at rest. It's just a far better option and better journey to start on, rather than you stepping on a treadmill and just trying to run as far as you can or run as fast as you can, or for some of you both, trying to run as fast as you can for as long as you can. And the real issue that I have, kind of bringing it back to my story about the shin splints, is sometimes people don't know when to stop with cardio. All they're looking at is the number of calories that they're burning, and thinking that they need to get to that number, when they're not thinking about what it's doing to their body. They're not thinking about potentially getting shin splints. They're not thinking about bad recruitment patterns. They're not thinking about how they should be stepping with each step when they're running. They're not thinking about their tight hips. They're not thinking about, are they shrugging their shoulders? Are they staying upright? Are they having good breathing techniques? Like, these are all important things to think about when you decide to start running. And me, as a runner practicing for these Spartan races that I've been doing, it's taken a lot of effort, a lot of mental effort and physical effort to efficiently run, to efficiently perform well while running long distances and even short distances, running fast, running slow, having a changing pace because of going uphill and downhill, and then having a consistent pace on a flat terrain. These are all factors that play into running. And then there's different factors for rowing. There's different factors for climbing stairs. There's different factors for everything. I'm mainly going to be talking about running though, because that's what a lot of people will gravitate towards is running. So yeah, and the thing about running too, and a lot of cardiovascular activity is your body does not need to be strong in order to do it efficiently. It doesn't need to, unless you're running uphill, unless you're trying to build strength in your running, just simply running on the treadmill at a flat or a 2 incline or even a 5 incline, like it's not going to build this crazy amount of strength in your body. It might actually bring down your overall strength. It might actually send a signal to your body that, hey, we're doing a lot of running, we're doing a lot of this very minimal range of motion movement that doesn't require heavy muscle, so let's get rid of it. Let's actually get rid of that muscle. Let's actually not speed up our metabolism. Let's actually slow it down, because you're going to be running. Those calories are being burned, so our body doesn't need to do it. We're doing it manually through the running. And this is exactly why when you look at top athletes who are in like marathon running or half marathon running, or even like in the Spartan world, the endurance racers who do the beast runs and the ultra beasts and these long distance runs, they're not big people. They're really not. Like the majority of them are under 180, under 160 pounds, and they're very light. They're very light. They do have some strength to them, obviously. They do have some explosiveness to them, but they're not overall strong, or as strong as someone who is a little bit more focused on resistance training rather than just running for long distances. And that's not to say that someone who does do those sports does have a good balance of those things. They can, and that's what their goal is, because they do have to run long distances and then flip a 400-pound tire. But you will see some people in these events where they're really, really good at running long distance. They'll do the burpees rather than lifting the 400-pound tire. And it's because their body is just not built to do that, because they're good at the running aspect of that. They're not good at the heavy lifting aspect of that. And so, yeah, so you have to think about, what is your goal? Is your goal to become lighter and, I don't want to say weaker, but yeah, you're kind of weakening yourself to be able to do more of an endurance feat. If your goal is to do endurance events, then by all means, go ahead and practice your running. But if your goal is to be strong, healthy, be able to do everyday tasks, to have good mobility and good range of motion, I would encourage you to look towards resistance training and full range of motion movements, rather than these minimal range of motion movements like running, minimal range of movements like Stairmaster or elliptical or things like that. It's not a full range of motion. It's just a cardiovascular activity that helps you get your heart rate up, and just so happens to be involved in a lot of sports activities. Okay, so now that we've gotten that down, now that we've set that as just the standard there, when should we be incorporating cardio, and why would we be incorporating cardio? And I've come to the conclusion that there's really 3 good reasons why you should be doing cardio, and 3 good uses for cardio. Number 1 is that if you're doing resistance training and you're building strength and you're building muscle and you've got a certain amount of calories that you're supposed to intake, every once in a while your hunger will be stronger than your will to keep within those calories. Very often that'll happen. where maybe you're supposed to be having 2,600 calories, and then, you know what, you just wanted to go over to Sprouts and get that Arctic Zero ice cream. This has happened to me a couple times, and you enjoy that ice cream, but oh no, now I am about 300 calories above, 300 or 400 calories above where I'm supposed to be. And so what you can do is use cardio as a way to put yourself back to where you need to be with your calories. So now I'm going to go run and do cardio up to 400 calories in order to basically undo what I've done with eating the ice cream. That's one way of utilizing cardio, is just kind of using it to help clean up for your nutrition. I really want to go ahead and say, though, that you will never ever be able to out cardio your own hunger. Okay, so don't try to make it a habit of doing that, because the more you end up exhausting your body, the hungrier you're going to get, and it is very, very, very easy to eat 400 calories of food. It is very, very difficult to burn 400 calories of workout. And I think, what was it? I think I did what was it? It was like a 3 or 4 mile run, and I burned 400 calories. So unless you want to be running, 2+ miles or 2.5+ miles in order to burn off that little tub or pint of ice cream, then just go ahead and try to practice having that self-control. But nevertheless, cardio is a great tool to be able to clean up for when you want to step outside of that caloric parameter that you set for yourself. But even then, you guys, there's other ways to get around that. Maybe tomorrow you just cut your calories by 400 calories, or maybe, hey, you just say, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and let this be a day where I let myself out of these calories. 400 calories is not going to make or break my progress. I just need to make sure I don't make a habit of doing this. So is cardio needed in those moments? No. Which leads me to my second reason, which is you need to do cardio for your athletic event, and you need to work on that cardiovascular activity for your athletic event. In that case, yes, we do need to do cardio, and we actually need to work on the techniques of the cardiovascular activity that we're doing. So if you are doing a Spartan race, or you're running for a half marathon or a marathon, you need to be putting in miles, and you need to be looking at the efficiency of your running. You need to make sure you're running properly, not just going out and running as hard and as fast as you can, but being smart about it. Having days where you're running long distance, having days where you're running short distance, having days where you're sprinting, having days when you're checking your mile time, having days when you run on a treadmill and days when you run out in trails, having days when you don't run at all. You make sure that you recover. These are all factors that you need to make sure are in place so that you work on the skill of running, because at the end of the day, that is what is going to matter most, that you are good at running. Not just that you are doing it, but that you are good at it. So when we look at that reason that we need to do it for our sport, even then you shouldn't be going onto the treadmill thinking about the calories that you're burning or the miles that you put in. Unless you've set for yourself a set amount of miles, you need to be looking at how you feel, how efficient you're running, where you're placing your midfoot. Is your body upright? How are you changing the position of your body when you go uphill and downhill? Are you bracing your core when you need to? All of these different factors that are really important for the skill of running, or the skill of your cardiovascular event. Again, I'm going to stay a little specific to running, but you can apply this to rowing. You can apply this to, it's another cardiovascular event that you do. Swimming especially. Yeah, if you're doing swimming, you need to work on the skill of swimming if you're going to be doing that for your athletic event. Things like that, you guys. Biking as well. For biking, we talk about reason 1, right? Burning those calories. Biking is a little bit different because you can build a lot of strength with biking, especially if you're biking uphill or if you're putting resistance on the biking. Reason number 1 was to make up on those calories, right? Reason number 2 would be for that athletic event. So you need to make sure that you work on the skill of biking. Are you making sure that you're bracing your core? Are you making sure you have good power in how you ride that bike? Are you making sure that you're adjusting your body as you go uphill, downhill? All of the different techniques. I myself am not as educated in the skills of biking as someone else may be, but there is skill to it, and that is what you would have to work on in that specific feat of fitness and that specific cardiovascular activity. And if you're going to do that, you really shouldn't be focused so much on the calories being expended. You should be focused on the skill that you're building. So that would be reason number 3. Reason number 2. Reason number 3, okay, the very last reason, is just because you love doing it. Just because you love doing it. I know of a couple clients that I've had where I've told them that you don't need to do cardio. You absolutely don't need to do cardio in order to see results. You don't need to go out running. You don't need to go on the Stairmaster. You don't need to go on a row machine. You don't need to do any of those things in order to see results. You do need to be consistent with your training, and you do need to manage your calories and manage your cravings. And just like we talked about reason number 1, there's ways to get around when you fail at doing that. But I've had some responses of like, but I actually like running. I actually like doing it. I actually find it as a way of thinking, and it's clearing my mind. It's my time to myself and things like that. Or going out for walks is my time to myself. And if that is the case, then by all means, do it. Like, absolutely. If you love running, if you love going out walking, if you love swimming and doing those things, then absolutely, by all means, go and do it. Like, that is a beautiful thing, to find an activity that you love doing that brings you so much peace. And you ought to be finding those things that bring you peace. You ought to be finding those things that give you stress relief. And if cardio is one of those things, then make time to do it. But I will say that if this is something that brings you peace and this is something that clears your mind, then don't cloud it with how many calories you're burning, and don't cloud it with how many miles you're doing or how fast or whatever. Like, just that is when you want to just do it to do it, okay? We obviously want to work on efficiency. We obviously want to make sure we're not hurting ourselves. But don't stress yourself out so much with the stats of the cardiovascular activity. Make sure you're doing it efficiently and make sure you don't hurt yourself. But let it be something that relieves your stress. Let it be something that brings you peace, instead of just making it some stressful activity. You see this with athletes all the time. People play sports because they love doing it, and then they get into the sport and they start to be successful, and they start to get noticed, and now they have fans, now they have expectations placed on them, and you start to see, now they're focused so much on performance and performing and the stats behind everything that now they're not able to perform as well as they used to, and there's so much pressure on them, they don't even love doing what they're doing anymore. That's because they've lost that peace that they found doing what they love. And I've kind of seen this in the Spartan world. I've seen this in the American Ninja Warrior world and things like that. You've seen this in basketball. You've seen this in baseball. You've seen this in a lot of places where someone will have a really good season and then a really bad season, and sometimes that's the reason why. It's because so much pressure is placed on them. They forgot why they're doing what they're doing. And it takes them just kind of coming back and finding that love for their sport again, or finding that love for that activity again, and then they end up doing really well. Or if they don't do really well, at least they're just having fun and enjoying themselves. So again, don't cloud that intimacy that you have with that activity, and make sure that you're actually getting peace from that and that you're actually enjoying it. Now, with that being said, those are the 3 big reasons why I would encourage you to do cardiovascular activities. Is 1, to kind of make up for calories being consumed outside of what your caloric parameters are. 2, for the fact that you have to do it for your sport. And 3, because you love doing it and it brings you peace and it clears your mind, things like that. Now, the one thing that I want you to keep in mind is do not let this thing that either one is helping you to keep your calories in check, or two, that you have to do in order for your sport, or three, something that you love. Don't let this thing keep you from seeing progress. Don't let this activity that you may have to do or may not have to do, but you're doing it anyways, whatever. Don't let this activity set you back. And the ways that it can set you back is that you love this sport so much that you're doing it every single day and you're pushing 100% and you're going super, super hard all the time, and then you end up getting injured. Or later on down the line you find out, oh no, I don't have cartilage in my knees anymore because I've been running so much, or I was doing so much, doing so much of this cardiovascular activity without actually thinking about how I was doing it, or thinking about the efficiency of how I was doing it. And so I ended up just wasting away my body in the process. And now, because I loved this so much and was doing it so much, I can't do it anymore, and I may never be able to do it again. And I have heard one too many stories about this where that's happened. A little girl was playing baseball or softball, and so she was the pitcher, and she was practicing pitching over and over and over again. She's trying to get really good. Found out that she wore out all the cartilage in her shoulder, and she may never be able to pitch ever again. She definitely won't be able to pitch in college after she graduates high school, and that's just a shame. That's just a shame. Someone else where their knee gets blown out, the ACL gets torn, and they're never able to play again because they didn't train properly. They just listened to their coach and just went 110% hard every time, going crazy, no days off, and beast mode in the gym all the time, beast mode on the field, leave nothing back. You need to be smart. You need to be smart about the way that you incorporate things into your workout plan, into your training, into your practice, and how you perform out on the field, or out in your sport, or out whenever you're doing whatever you're doing. You just need to be smart about it. You need to be aware of your body, aware of what you're capable of doing, and always challenging yourself, but never pushing your body so far that you end up harming yourself. We definitely don't want to get to that point. So yeah, so whether you're trying to burn 300, 400 calories to make up for that, ice cream that you had, or whether you have to do it for your sport, or whether you just love doing it, you need to make sure that you're keeping your body safe. If that means taking days off and having a running day, and making sure that you don't place that running day right after a heavy squat day, or maybe you don't put that heavy squat day right after your running day, because both of which may affect the strength of your knees. And if you run, I've had to do this too. I've had to call off a workout and postpone it because I did a long run on trails and my knees just felt really, really achy. And so I decided, I'm not going to be squatting 315 pounds right now because I don't want to find out if my knees can handle it or not. I'm just going to play it safe and wait till I know that they're recovered. Likewise, I've not run before because I know, hey, I want to make sure that I get this squat down. And so instead of running, I'm going to make sure that I don't push my body too hard on this day so that I'm fully recovered to be able to perform well in that squat. Because the squat is going to do far more for strengthening my legs and strengthening my core and strengthening my body than me going out for that run. So I need to be able to pick and choose when I do certain things in my programming to make sure that overall I am reaching my goals. So I do hope that this was helpful for you, and I do hope that this answered some of your questions. Always focus on the resistance training. Even if your sport is cardiovascular, I would say. Even if your sport is long distance running, even if your sport is Spartan racing at the elite level where you're doing the beasts and you're doing the ultra beasts and you're doing these long distances, obviously, yes, you need to do the obstacles, and so you do need to have that strength to you. But make sure you're putting your body through full ranges of motion. Make sure you still have that mobility. Make sure that you're still looking at all these important things that for you as a human being need to be there for you to be healthy all the way till old age. when you're old, when you're 80, 90, 100 years old, you're not going to be faced with the daily task of running long distance. You're going to be faced with the daily task of standing up and sitting down and lifting things and moving things and bracing your core in order for you to move in this direction, that direction. And those are the important things that you'll have to consider in old age. So work on those now and do your sport. Absolutely do your sport. But just make sure that those fundamental full range of motion movements are in your program so that you keep your body healthy and prevent yourself from injury while you're doing those long distance sports and things like that. So yeah, I do hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, then feel free to leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate that. It helps other people to see and hear this podcast in their feeds. And if you think that anyone in particular needs to hear this message, which I think is like everybody, to know how to be smart about how they incorporate their cardio, then be sure to share this on your social media platforms, or at least share this with a friend, and that way they can hear this as well. And both of you guys can subscribe to our podcast, and that way you'll be informed on when new episodes arrive. We do want to hear about how you guys incorporate your cardio. We do want to hear about if you agree or disagree with us. So be sure to visit our Instagram at ACT Fitness Academy. And you can go to our podcast post, ACT Fitness Radio episode. I believe this is number 29. It's going to be entitled How to Incorporate Cardio. And you can go ahead and comment and let us know how you incorporate cardio, if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, or any questions that you might have. So go to our Instagram, and if you want to learn more about our personal training services in Whittier, California, then be sure to visit our website, www.actfitnessacademy.com. Take care, you guys, and we will see you in the next episode.